Spookyou's frightening nights of Halloween.
Hello, my dear Franken friends, and welcome to Spookyou, your one-stop shop for all things ghastly and ghoulish. I'm your host, Barnabas Vixen, and it's night 7 of our Frightening Nights of Halloween series. Have you been enjoying this series so far? Of course you have! I mean, why wouldn't you? For I am Barnabas, and I am great, and you couldn't possibly tear your teary eyes away from the screen long enough to miss a single second of my glory. Sorry, I've been working through some self-worth material, and it's done wonders for my confidence. 10/10 would recommend. Right. The narrators and the authors. Sorry, I just thought that I would be enough for you. My bad. In the narration corner, we've got Marie LivestheHorror and Serafin the Midnight Bard. Such a suave name. Much better than Serafin, which is how I said it in my head when you first reached out to us. But now I've been educated, and honestly, I like your way better. In the author corner, we have Mosaic Unearthed, followed by MPZ1968 and As the Raven Dreams, making this his second story debut in less than 3 nights. One more story and he takes home the gold medal. Alright, enough of the babbling, you came here for a story, right? Here's White Glowing Eyes, written by Mosaic Unearthed and narrated by Marie LivestheHorror.
The following is a very true experience. I've never actually wrote this down before, and I don't know if anyone has experienced this too. This happened between 1989 and 1990, and I was about the age of 4 years old. To this day, I still get chills thinking about it, and I wonder if in some way unknown, it changed me. My parents had a house in the Inland Empire of Southern California, and at the time, my brother hadn't been born yet, so I was still the only child. To give you a layout, my parents' house was a 2-story house located in a cul-de-sac. On the bottom floor, there was 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, the living room, and the kitchen. The second floor was just the master bedroom and bath. All you could see from the street was the garage and one of the bedroom windows on the bottom floor and the window of my mom's bathroom on the second floor. To get to the front door, you had to walk along the cement pathway that ran along the side of the house. You had to pass the first bedroom that you can see from the street. Then you pass the bathroom window, and then another bedroom window, and then you would be at the front door. The backyard was beyond that point. My bedroom at the time was the bedroom next to the front door. Now, for some reason, my blinds weren't completely down to the bottom of the window. There was about a 6-inch gap with nothing covering it. I was pretty young, so I didn't really care much about it then. The bed was in the middle of the wall across from my bedroom door, and to the left was the window. According to my mom, this all happened right before midnight. My mother was asleep in her room upstairs, and my dad was a policeman that worked nights in another city. I was fast asleep in my room, and out of nowhere, I suddenly awoke, looking up at the ceiling. I don't know what woke me, or if I just popped awake on my own. After my eyes adjusted to the night's light of the room, I sat up and started looking around my room. All of a sudden, something caught my eye at the window in the gap. First, I thought it was the street light reflecting on the window, but I knew for a fact that there was only one street light, And what I was looking at was two obvious, glowing spots that were spaced apart, as if on someone's face. Then I thought, is that a cat looking at me? And yes, I vividly remember thinking these things, trying to debunk this at 4 years old. I had remembered then that my cat Chelsea's eyes would reflect at night, but this looked different than that. The cat's eyes would almost have different colors when reflecting. These were two very solid, bright, white glowing eyes looking straight at me. I just stared at them, frozen, stiff, trying to make sense of what I'm seeing. I couldn't see a face at all. The eyes were just so bright, nothing else stood out. That void or face around the eyes looked blacker than the night. I thought again, well, if this is a cat, how could a cat be big like a person? And why would a cat stand up to stare in my bedroom? The curiosity got me and I went for it. I flipped my covers off, turned my little 4-year-old body towards the window, and put my feet on the floor. This is the moment the creepiest thing happened, and it will be forever burned into my brain. I got off the bed and got on my knees to get a closer look at this so-called cat. When at this very moment, this faceless pair of glowing white eyes begins to slowly and steadily tilt to the side. Very similar to Michael Myers in Halloween. Eyes still locked on me, not blinking once. The feeling of dread and fear shot through my body. Completely terrified, I burst into tears immediately and booked it down the hallway, through the living room and up the stairs to tell my mom. Although I was going as fast as I could, it felt like it took forever. When I got to my mom, I was so upset I couldn't get any words out. Tears were streaming down my face, and my mom was becoming seriously concerned at this point. She was able to calm me down just enough for me to get out the words. There's white eyes looking at me through my window on the bottom. Stutter, crying hard. Are you sure? My mom asked. I cry out, yes. She didn't even go down to look. She just called the police. I don't remember the time it took for them to arrive or what they said, because I finally fell asleep in my mom's bed. I do remember faintly waking up to a knock on the door and my mom going to open it. The cop speaks to her, and I hear her say, "Okay, thank you, good night." And she shuts the door. Did they find it, Mommy? I asked, half asleep. No, honey. He said they couldn't find anyone. My mom told me softly. It's okay now. Just try to go back to sleep. It's safe to say that the next day my whole window was covered. Years fast forward and I'm in middle school now. Every now and then I would think about that night. Sometimes I wondered if that moment was real, if those eyes were really there, those unforgettable white eyes. One day a random thought came up, and I asked my mom if she remembered that night. She tells me, yes, of course. Why? I don't know, just wondering, I guess, I said. Then my mom proceeds to say, well, I never told you this, but when the deputy came out that night, he told me they made it a priority to get out to our house as soon as they could, because not very long before I called 911, they received another call from someone else reporting that someone was looking in their window in our same neighborhood. Hearing that sent chills down my spine, and to this day, I wonder who or what was looking at me that night.
Awesome job, Marie. Some of you may remember this, but we've actually narrated one of Marie's stories on this channel in the past. So not only does she narrate, but she's also a writer as well. There are a ton of videos for you to consume on her channel, each of them 30 minutes or longer. Seriously, that's a lot of content. So be sure to follow her on Twitter at LivestheHorror to keep up with anything new she puts out. And the author of this wonderful story is Mosaic Unearthed. This seems to be the only story that they've written through this account, and since it's anonymous, I'm unsure if they're penning stories under any other names. Regardless, make sure you follow them in case they upload anything new. Our next story is It Really Happened, written by MPZ1968 and narrated by Serafin the Midnight Bard.
I would like to share with you an experience I had about 10 years ago, give or take. I learned several years after this incident, what happened to me is what doctors call sleep paralysis. I say they're full of shit. It really happened. I do not use drugs outside of caffeine and nicotine. I do not drink alcohol of any sort, so this was not a hallucination caused by either of the two. Nor do I have any mental issues that I know of. Let's make that clear. Going back about a year before this incident, at that time, I was really into ghost hunting shows. I watched and recorded any and every show I could find that was about a team of ghost hunters investigating haunted places. Some were really good, and others just sucked. No disrespect. I remember watching an episode of, Wait. In order to post on here, I can't use any real names, places, or addresses. Okay, let's see if I can do this. I remember watching the show where the lead hunter guy is a muscle-bound jerk who doesn't like bullies but in turn is one himself. He orders his crew around like he owns them and they follow him blindly like sheep. I think you know the one. It's a good show. At least it used to be. Anyway, they were investigating... Oh shit. Here we go again. They were investigating a bar owned by an old country singer located in one of the southern states who wrote a semi-popular song about a girl. Everyone in the paranormal community says this place is truly haunted. Okay, now that's over with. Back to the story. They were down in the basement, I think. It's been a while since I've seen it, and to this day, it's the only episode of that show I will never watch again. They were talking with some guy about what goes on in there when, up in the left top corner of the screen, there appeared a shadow figure wearing a cowboy hat standing in the doorway. At this time in the show, they stopped the film and pointed out that when they were actually down there, they didn't see this figure and only discovered it when reviewing the footage. I was naive back then and didn't really know much about the paranormal. I figured, it's a TV show, what harm could it really do? Boy, was I wrong. I now know that ghosts, entities, or whatever you want to call them, can follow you home from places and are made up of energy that can travel through any energy source they want. And one did. Now that I've given you the backstory to this story, let's proceed with the reason I'm actually writing this. Many years before this incident, an old friend of mine, back when I was 11 or 12, who I met through playing baseball on the same team, anyway, he had recently bought a house and was looking for someone to just give his old trailer/mobile home to, which is where this incident happened. We had lost contact over the years, but unbeknownst to me, he had kept in contact with my father. My father gave him my number. He called me up and made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. A free trailer. Just pay lot rent. Oh, hell yeah. I'll take it. The trailer was old and needed work, but it was a good deal. I moved in, did some minor repairs, and a couple of weeks after that, I invited my father and stepmother over for dinner. My stepmother is what she calls an old soul. She can sense when things are not right with the universe. She took one look at the place and said, "There's bad juju in here. I don't like it." Every time she came to visit, she was nervous. She wouldn't sit still, always looking down the hallway. She eventually stopped coming. She said it was too thick for her, whatever that meant. I just thought she was nuts. I now know she's not. I lived there for many years and had some strange things happen. Seeing apparitions out of the corner of my eye, voices, cold breezes, etc. I just chalked it up to bad lighting, outside noises, insulation issues, some rational explanation. Until that night. The night that changed my whole belief system forever. The night I will never forget. I was laying in bed, asleep on my back like I always do, when I woke up and noticed a black figure standing in the doorway of my bedroom. The hallway light was on. I always leave it on in case I need to make a bathroom run late at night. The light from behind the figure showed it had a head, 2 arms and 2 legs, but no eyes. It was just standing there. I blinked a couple of times to make sure I was seeing what I was seeing, and sure enough, I was. Only this time, when I looked at it, it was wearing a cowboy hat. The moment I realized that, I physically saw it jump from the standing position in the doorway over the top of the bed and land on top of me. My body became stiff, unable to move. Out of my peripheral vision, I could see my wife lying next to me. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. I saw the figure sitting on top of me. It reached its hands down into my chest and started squeezing my lungs. I couldn't breathe. It was squeezing the life out of me. There I was, gasping for air, paralyzed and unable to make a sound. Just when I thought I was about to die, a series of intensely bright lights started flashing all around the room, like a strobe light on steroids. I closed my eyes to shield them from the lights. It was that bright. All of a sudden, my body jerked a couple of times like a convulsion, and then stopped. I opened my eyes and it was gone. I was able to breathe again. I lied there, heavy breathing for a good 20 minutes, too scared to move. When I finally got the nerve to try, I slowly moved my right hand over the nightstand. Still shaking from fear, I grabbed my phone to check the time, like I always do when I wake up in the middle of the night. The time was 3:48 a.m., the witching hour. Needless to say, I did not go back to sleep that night. I cautiously got out of bed so as to not wake up my wife and turned on every light in the house, every single one, including all the bedroom lights. How my wife stayed asleep I don't know, but thankfully she did. I made a pot of coffee, grabbed my Bible and sat at the dining room table, drinking coffee, Bible in hand until the morning came. I must have smoked at least a pack and a half of cigarettes in that 3-hour span of time. I'm good with that. I'm still alive. I asked my wife if she had seen or heard anything strange the night before. She said no, and I left it at that. I didn't tell her what happened, and I still haven't. She probably wouldn't believe me anyway. My wife and I stayed at the trailer for about 2 months after that. When we got the opportunity to rent an actual house, we took it. We packed our things and moved out. On the last day we were ever at the trailer, my wife had left a vacuum in the back room where this experience happened. She asked if I would go get said vacuum, and I agreed. Upon entering the room, a weird sense of dread fell over me, and something inside of me told me I needed to get out of there quick. I grabbed the vacuum, ran down the hallway and out the front door as fast as I could, slamming the door behind me. I then turned around and yelled, "You want this place? You can have it! I'm gone!" My wife looked at me like I'd lost my mind. My father and stepmother helped us move, along with some friends. My stepmother insisted that we drive all the vehicles that contained our belongings over bodies of water to block any of the bad juju from coming with us to the new house. We did, and have had no bad experiences in our new house. Aside from a few really bad dreams the first couple of nights we were there. About the trailer. But that was it. Well, that's my story. I don't really care if you believe me or not. I know for a fact, it really happened.
Now let's take a second to hear from Serafin about his channel.
Hello friends. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Spookyou for having me on his channel, and also to introduce myself. My name is Serafin, the Midnight Bard, and I travel through the realms looking for people who've experienced encounters with the dark, the strange, and the unexplained. They tell me their tales, and I write them down in my book, where the evil is trapped within its pages forever. Click on the link in the description to stop by my channel sometime and listen to the strange stories I've collected. I look forward to seeing you there.
The author of this story is MPZ1968, and man, is there a lot of content for you to binge on his Reddit profile. I'm talking series, one-shots, horror, and comedic horror. I mean, there's enough here to keep you reading for years to come. And you can find it all on their profile on Reddit. So make sure you give them a follow to keep up with any future stories they come out with. And our final story of the night is The Man at My Funeral. Written by As the Raven Dreams and narrated by our vivacious voiceover virtuoso. Last night, I dreamed I was at my own funeral. I've been having this dream almost every night for the last year. It's such a surreal feeling, seeing the people you love mourn losing you. At the same time, it's also kind of nice knowing that these people care so much about my existence. Obviously, having this kind of dream would be mildly unsettling to most, but I see it as an opportunity to know that when things come to an end, people will actually care. As of late, though, there's been a disturbing part of the dream. I keep seeing this person that I don't recognize. He stands among my friends and family and just seems to loom the entirety of this service. For some reason, I can't place a name to his face, but I can feel that something is off about him. The couple times I've seen him, he always seems to target someone in the crowd and approaches them to console them. He seems so very gentle with them, but when I see his eyes, they seem to have a faint hue, a slight red glow, as he stares at where I lie in my coffin. Now, I know that most people would just say that it's nothing more than a dream, but I've watched him approach two people in this dream. Both people that he's approached have ended up getting into horrible accidents. One of them passed away, and the other will never walk or speak again. I know it's just a dream, but how could it be a coincidence that the two people the man approached in my dream both ended up where they are? There's only so much that you can equate to random chance. Last night, I dreamed I was at my own funeral again, and the man was there. He was there during the entirety of the service, and this time, he did something different. He requested to give my eulogy. He stood in front of the entire crowd of people and spoke to them, comforting them and telling them that I was in a better place. This morning, I received a call that my parents and my younger sister were hit by a drunk driver. None of them survived. I saw a news report that there was a fire at a local college in the dorm where a number of my friends stayed. My girlfriend's mother called me this morning to tell me that she had taken her own life the night before. All of them were gone, comforted by his words and lulled into the afterlife. Now, I'm sitting here and waiting my turn. You see, at the end of my dream, after the eulogy, he turned to look at my body in the coffin. He ran a hand through my hair and told me that everything would be okay. His words were comforting, and I felt calm as I watched his glowing eyes pierce my soul. Amazing stuff as always, as the Raven dreams. Now, he's already had another story that's taken part in this collaboration way back in Night 4, titled How I Met Brian Sampson. Now let me tell you a little bit about Raven in case you forgot. Now Raven has his own YouTube channel where he narrates stories, and there are a lot of videos on there. Seriously, there's a ton. Not only that, but he writes his own original stories, and he narrates those as well. If you'd like to read those, you can find those on his website, which is linked in the description below. So please, subscribe to As the Raven Dreams on his YouTube channel, check out his website, and follow him on Twitter. And that's gonna wrap things up for us tonight, my darling deviants. Thank you so much to the narrators and authors that lent their talents to this video, and be sure you devour the links in the description to check out each and every one of them. This wouldn't be possible without all of their hard work. Now tomorrow we'll be back again at the same time with more narrators and authors to satiate that horrific appetite of yours. Smash that thumbs up, annihilate that subscribe button, and ring that little bell while you're at it. Until next time, my ghastly gang, stay spooky.